And now I'd like to invite Rainer Eidemiller here. And he's the counterpart to the Norwegian Heritage Foundation. He has been driving and leading the Sustainable Renovation Center in Paide. I know Rainer so well. He's the man who is practicing what he preaches, and not only in leading the Free Town of Paide project and Duri community house, but Rainer, speak about circular economy to us. Old materials in construction and circular economy. Let's start by where I come from, what is the background, and so you'll understand why am I speaking about it. Paidesrik, the Center for Sustainable Renovation. It's a civic project. We didn't really come up with it on our own. Tallinn was the one to initiate it, but we do gather old construction materials, advise house owners, and teach people in renovation. Until the end of 2018, we worked at Tallinn Street 911 in Paide. We did that for quite a long time. And all these RIC activities we were carrying out there, but it expanded into a much wider community activity. 2019, we moved out. They were not our buildings, it belonged to the town, and now it's Järvamaa Museum that's located there. We didn't have a place to go. We currently have a house in Old Town to store the old materials. And one of our activities, the cafe that started in Old Town building, we moved it to a new location, and that is the Advisory Counseling Center for SRIC and for training by SRIC, although the space is very limited. Right now we don't have our own space where we had our workshop and warehouse, and we are developing our activities by going on site and counseling people on construction sites. We hope to fix up the new building with Norwegian support. It's next to our previous house, Tallinn 13, and we hope to restore all our activities besides the warehouse for old materials. We simply don't have space there. But circular economy is something that we've been working on, and not only us. As you look at circular economy from the construction material viewpoint, then everything about tradition, how we've built old houses, how has a farm been built up, it's all about circular economy. It's nothing new there. Today, it is a matter of a choice. We either choose to support it or we don't. It's rather a need. To be aware of to maintain and protect the environment, the climate. And the third aspect is economic aspects, circular economy. We don't think about that we are not giving people jobs. It's actually a new economy that does create jobs. It's a new opportunity. But let's talk about environmental protection, and these figures are well known for you. Construction industry consumes 35% of world energy needs and gives 40% of emissions for greenhouse gases. So that's quite a remarkable impact. In Europe, these figures are 40 and 45%. As we compare it to other sectors, this is the highest impact. And since population is increasing, urbanization is increasing, so we absolutely need to work with this sector. It is said that over the next 40 years, we need to build so much that a new Paris is built every single week. Well, that would be nice if we'd had a new Paris, but I seriously doubt that these are actual Parises. That is a problem that we'll encounter more and more in the future. What causes this problem? As we look at the materials, the information that is circulating, the figures do vary from side to side. But about CO2 emissions, we notice that the biggest percentages are here. That's for cement and steel. These are the main construction materials: cement, ceramics, steel and glass. But as we look at lime, their emission is 7.9%, unlike cement, as the lime cement, it binds CO2 and it's renewable. But as we know, for modern materials, the impact is significant, very high. For concrete and steel, is not only about houses, it's also bridges and roads, and it's increasing in over time. Where is it created? We can split it into primary energy, that is in producing these materials, but also transportation and building. For certain and CO2 emissions are usually created here in primary production. For concrete and steel, they claim it's 90%. We can then speak about usage and emissions from there, that is heating, lighting, maintenance, and finally repurposing. When the building has exhausted its usefulness, it needs to be demolished. And we are now working with a second item, usage. As we measure energy efficiency of buildings, that seems to be the main aspect. Yes, it's important, it's not, but it doesn't give the highest impact on the environment. We have a case from UK. If we pay more attention to emissions in using the building, therefore the share of primary production, primary emissions will normally increase from 30 to 50 to 60%. This is something that we are conveniently ignoring. In producing primary energy for emissions, we know that depending on the material, it might be 2 to 80%. So we need to, depending on the material that we use, so we need to think, what is it that we use? If we have a building that has been taken into use, that's already something that we need to do. And after the use is, after the building has been completed, what do they do with the environment, to nature? We don't think much about design when these products are designed. How can we reuse them? Very little is done with that right now. But it's quite clear that buildings don't go quietly into the night. When they remain empty, they need to be demolished. Then this environmental impact with demolition, storing waste, transporting it, that environmental impact is very high. But once again, we come down to materials and products. It's wonderful that we work with waste. European Waste Directive supports collection of waste by kinds, their reuse, and we have waste management stations. That is a working infrastructure. People have a habit now by delivering their waste there. But for me, the materials taken to the recycling station, they are not recyclable. When we take concrete and bricks there, you can use that as additional filling material, but for glass and windows, using them for fit for purpose is not really possible. Also, the values are an issue. When we take materials to a recycling plant, we already call it trash. Is that something that has an impact in reusing the material. Waste management should be a shrinking economy. Our goal is zero waste. We should be increasing the share of circular economy. The share of waste should go up. Circular economy should, the share of waste should go down. Circular economy should go up. We have some good examples from the building code that speaks about certain additional standards, about product design, so things can be reused. But what we don't have are efficient circular collection points, because they are not recycling or waste collection points. We need a totally different infrastructure. We need labor force. We need totally new habits. But there are two positive shifts that we are seeing. One is the issue of value. A circular economy stations. This is where material goes before it becomes trash. This is not something without any value. It's still a construction material that should be used purposefully. It pays so much more attention to reuse. Circular economy collection points, when they are built up in such a way that materials are not crushed, they are not broken, the personnel knows how to select it, how to facilitate reuse, whether they have experience or training to recognize it, all that facilitates circular economy. Let me show some examples. What did we do as an NGO for as long as we had that center? Throughout the time, we collected used construction materials, beams, doors, roof tiles. It is not just collection and waiting until somebody picks it up, but it's important to show how reusing, repurposing should happen. We restored materials ourselves, but we also organized trainings, quite long trainings, working together, showing people how you can reuse old construction materials. These are pictures from different trainings: doors, windows, furniture. Also plaster. All plaster can be used as well. And since we don't have any training facilities anymore, then the best we can do is to have sustainable renovation classes at school, how to deliver that message to students, young people. 30-hour cycle, and that will, half of it would be theory, half of it in practice. If I were to sum up the practice, what are the models for circular economy for construction materials? Then I think it's time to bring together three things. Environmental, surroundings, and the economic model. I think that creating separate recycling or circular economy points is quite a good idea. So they might be close to current recycling stations, but they need to be, close to themselves. So logistically, it's a sensible move. Market needs differ from the environmental needs. We as a society are responsible for the situation created, and polluter pays principle should apply here. You can't only hope for market forces to work here, but we need to have support from public funds. Environmental Investment Center has a fund for that. In my opinion, the problem is that for circular economy fund, there need to be more money allocated for investments. It's not only about buying containers. We need to build structures. We need to train. And support for investments needs to be much higher. Municipalities they've taken it sort of natural that they need to support waste management. But waste management needs to be a shrinking business. Circular economy is a future business. Municipalities should get behind circular economy quite as much as they are now behind waste management. And what's important is not to have short-term goals or indicators. What has been the impact in 1 or 2 years, as we are used to having? It has a long-term impact. We must have a long-term goal here. So, briefly, that's all from me. If there are any questions, I think we do have time to answer them. Thank you so much. This view towards look into the future, that's all we can expect from you. Your forecast on when circular economy materials will they end up in building? When should they have them? Right away. But when exactly will they? I have no way of telling you. And that's exactly that we mentioned before. The most environmentally friendly house is the existing one. Something that you don't even need to restore, but something that you just maintain and care for. Whether it's municipalities or the state, I believe we don't need to build more. We need to fix up old ones. And we'll talk about that in the panel right away. And there are questions, so we can we have a microphone here? We must have a microphone because this is a live transmission. But Rainer, this recommendation to Environmental Investment Center, I'll take that recommendation to them right away. I'd like to ask, who are the we in Paide who are working there? Are these volunteers or enthusiasts only, or do they get a salary? Or how does it work as an organization? It is an NGO, non-profit organization. Most are private persons, but also the city of or town of Paide is a member. They've given us operational support, and they are part of this Norwegian project as well. Nobody has really gotten any significant salary. That's basically voluntary work. And you can draw these circles bigger or smaller. This active group is 4 or 5 people that are continuously there. And depending on what are we doing and what are we organizing, thereby the circle of people expands. It is our goal to involve the community ever more and more. If we can't rebuild the warehouse for old materials in the new place, then we can spread it up all over the town. Maybe doors and windows do not have to be kept in one location. Maybe they can be stored at people's homes. Perhaps doors with one person and windows at somebody else's home. Thank you.
So I think it is very welcome and noteworthy initiative. And my question is, in practice, how far have you managed to get with the development of circular economy? Is it an idea level right now, or have you been taking any practical steps so far so that it would all function as well? So this warehouse which we had, it functioned for 10 years. So similar warehouses we have had elsewhere in Estonia, in Tallinn, and the rest of the world as well, because in Finland, for example, and in Germany, I've been near Leipzig. So because there are these warehouses in the world, there are few in Estonia as well. But they have to be sort of enthusiasm-based. So I suppose that we should have more state support and local government support. But from the Ministerial Environment is actually promoting circular economy on the state level, and is a cooperation platform across the ministries. And they've published the survey looking at the current situation, then there is not much to rejoice in construction or materials. It's not actually circling much. And then we have different measures and activities in order to support and foster it, because we have more and more. But we have Fit for 55 coming up, so that means that we have to make more effort. But thank you very much.